Welcome to James Cotter Field here on the campus of Boston College High School for the Little East Conference opener between UMass Boston Lacrosse and the Western Connecticut State University Colonials. This will wrap up a 4-game homestand for UMass Boston where they've seen all kinds of weather, none of it very good. It started with a 5-degree wind chill and a win over Riviera University. The past 2 non-conference matchups have been soggy and windy in losses to Johnson and Wales and Bowdoin. And now, to start April, nothing else but a shower, but unfortunately it's a snow shower as the Beacons and Colonials, you can see it on the screen behind our matchup graphic. Well, there's still quite a bit of snow despite the fact that the facilities crew and some of the players have been working hard to unclear the vital spots on this field as UMass Boston and Western Connecticut State facing off here. Both teams come in right around 500. The Beacons at 3-4, Western Connecticut State at 3-3 overall. The Beacons dropping a midweek contest against 18th ranked Bowdoin College. Western Connecticut State coming off a big win against Mitchell College as they held Mitchell to just 3 goals on the game. And it's very interesting when you look at the two coaching philosophies. Tyler Lowe putting the best team he faces in non-conference against UMass Boston right before the conference season. On the other side, this very young team under Western Connecticut State head coach Ryan Cavanaugh playing one of the worst teams they've seen at home. We'll see how that benefits as these two teams were on the other end of the spectrum of big margins this past midweek. Looking at last year's matchup, it was UMass Boston coming away with their first win over Western Connecticut State since 2006. As Western had won 10 in a row, outscoring the Beacons by nearly 7 goals per game during that stretch, 146-78. But last year in the first matchup between Lowe and Cavanaugh, who was in his first season at Little East at Western Connecticut State, the Beacons earned a 14-6 win, their first win on the road against the Colonials since 2005. The Beacons, after trailing 2-0 and 3-1 early on, scored 7 in a row, 10 of 11 to earn the big win. Last year's Western Connecticut State team, a very small squad, just about 20 players. They only played 13 in the loss. The Beacons went with 21 players. Calvin Lee was the big-time scorer in that one, 4 goals and an assist. All the other Beacons who scored in that game no longer with the Beacons. Seniors Nick Weiss, Michael Lunn, and Michael Kennedy all had big games. Connor Smith still on the team, but has been banged up. We don't expect him to see. Calvin Lee will make his season debut, one of the bigger stories in this one. A second-team all-conference player, a 50-goal scorer, suffered an injury during the preseason, and he's back today, along with Eric Walrath, the freshman who injured his shoulder before the year. He's back, so the Beacons getting 2 offensive weapons to help out their struggling offense. On the other side, you look at Western Connecticut State, and if you were at last year's matchup or just followed the Colonials in the Little East, this is a very different-looking team in the second year under Cavanaugh. Eric Caldwell, the very talented freshman who stands at 6'5", 235 out of East Norwich, New York. He's coming off his second 7-goal game of the season, leads the team with 24 goals and 33 points. The other big addition, Ryan Yersha, the sophomore transfer out of Ocean County College down in Toms River, New Jersey. Originally out of Middletown, Delaware. He is a face-off extraordinaire, 254 out of 373 this year. That was his numbers a year ago at Ocean County College. Still, the numbers this year pretty good as well. 77 of 140, winning 55% of his face-offs. Huge for a team that last season finished with just 2 wins and went just 23% on face-offs. So a 30% jump has certainly helped an offense that was towards the bottom of the conference last year, averaging just 7 goals per game. We'll take a look at the matchup graphics right now, and you see the difference between these two sides. The Beacons have struggled offensively. They haven't reached double digits since opening the season 2-0 with wins over New England College and Daniel Webster. Western Connecticut State flying high, 13 goals per game. Both teams doing pretty well defensively despite having young defenses. The shot's not that different. The saves, Western Connecticut State has gotten some great action from senior goaltender Patrick Tynan, the senior out of Somers, Connecticut, a backup his first 2 seasons. Last year went 2-13, gave up nearly 16 goals per game, but this season has been very respectable. 3-3, 10.6 goals against, the save percentage just over 53%. He's played the majority of the action this season, and he's had 10 or more saves in 4 of the games, coming off his best statistical game of the season, 2 goals allowed on 3 total shots in the first half of that easy win over Mitchell at the Western Athletic Complex on Wednesday. Right now we'll take a look at our player to watch. With Calvin Lee back, certainly the Meekins hope that he'll take some of the pressure off of their younger guys offensively. But Will Christensen, the Salisbury University transfer, a freshman who did not play for Salisbury, a Division III powerhouse, has been very good as of late. Had his best game of the season against the Polar Bears of Bowdoin College on Tuesday. 3 goals and 2 assists. He's a guy who's very creative, and that could come in handy today against this Western Connecticut State team in a game that could be a little bit higher scoring than UMass Boston has at least been able to reach over the past couple of contests. Look ahead for UMass Boston. This is their Little East Conference opener, but certainly they're going to be very active in conference heading into April. They travel to Wheaton College on Tuesday for a non-conference matchup, their last of the year, before taking on traditional powers in the Little East, Eastern Connecticut State, next Sunday at 1 p.m., and then a big road matchup against preseason favorite Keene State 2 Saturdays from now at 3:30 p.m. These 2 teams picked 4th and tied for 6th in the conference. The Beacons, who finished 6th a year ago, winning 12 games in the regular season for the 2nd time in program history. And Western Connecticut State, coming off a 2-win season, they were picked tied for 6th with the University of Southern Maine. Only 6 teams get in the 8-team conference tournament. We'll see which of these 2 sides can come away with a big win here as the Beacons look for their first home win over Western Connecticut State since 2006. Right now we're going to take an audio break for the starting lineups and the national anthem, and then we'll have the opening face-off draw here from James Cotter Field on a snowy April Fool's Day, as we're going to get the lone men's conference game of the day. All 3 of the other games postponed for either tomorrow or for later on in April. Western Connecticut State wanted to play. They took the long trek, and we're going to get the action going on here as UMass Boston and Western Connecticut State open up April on Little East Conference opening day. Hello and welcome back to James Cotter Field. My name is Seth Renski, bringing the action here on LittleEast.tv. We'll bring you the starting lineups first for the Western Connecticut State University Colonials. Number 0, Taekwon Bonaparte, the freshman midfielder out of Stamford, Connecticut. Hadn't played in 4 of the past 5, but gets the start today, his 3rd of the season. Cullen Roberts, senior defender out of Somers, Connecticut, an all-state player at Somers High School and the Western Connecticut State Rookie of the Year as a freshman. This season, he comes in with 5 goals, 9 points, and he's second on the team in both ground balls with 23 and caused turnovers with 11. Robbie Swenson, a sophomore attackman out of Danbury, Connecticut, making his 5th start of the year, comes in tied for 3rd on the team with his 12 points, 3rd overall with 11 goals. Kieran Lyons, a freshman defenseman out of Leominster, Massachusetts, an honorable mention all-star a year ago at St. John's High School, making his 6th start of the season. Eric Caldwell, he's the guy to watch. Big number 31, 6'5", 235. He's a guy who will take a lot of shots. 7 goals in the team's opener against Mount St. Mary's, 7 more against Mitchell, easily outscoring Mitchell in the big win over the midweek. He comes in with 24 goals and 33 points. Also has 4 of the team's man-up goals. John Forrestal's the other big-time attackman, senior out of Danbury, Connecticut, 20 goals in each of his first 3 years. He's well on his way this season. 15 goals, second on the team, 16 assists. Did not play on Wednesday. Matthew Kolosinski is the team's top defender. 16 ground balls, 3rd on the team, 16 caused turnovers, tops on the side. Ryan Yersha is in the faceoff X, sophomore midfielder out of Middletown, Delaware, has taken all but about 10 of the team's faceoffs, and he wins the opening faceoff. Kevin Kaiser, the junior D out of Danbury, Connecticut, a transfer from Division II Post University, 6 foot, 200 pounds, 9 caused turnovers on the season as it's the Colonials' ball in their own end. Patrick Tynan talked a bit about him, the senior second-year starter out of Somers, Connecticut, 5'10", 165, has played all but 40 minutes this season. A goals against average of 10.6, a save percentage at 53.3. As Western Connecticut State in the rust, Orange Unis control the ball going from left to right. UMass Boston, the home whites, on defense currently going from right to left. For the Beacons starting, Calvin Lee, the senior out of Hopkinton, Mass., former transfer out of Colby College in his 2nd year with the Beacons, his season debut after leading the team last year with 54 goals, 27 assists, and 81 points. A huge addition to the Beacons after going down with an injury during preseason. Robert Ranta, a freshman defenseman out of Newton, Massachusetts, makes his 5th start, 6 total appearance. It's controlled outside. The shot from distance doesn't get through, and the ball's still loose just outside the crease. Picked up there by Eric Caldwell, who had his shot blocked, and it's Derek D.P. Trantonio with it along the goal line. Loose ball, and the Beacons will eventually try to pick it up. Jack Dillon can't get the handle, and Western Connecticut State continues to hold on in the form of John Ward onto the field, the freshman midfielder out of Mahopac, New York. Continuing off the Beacon starters, we've already seen a sloppy beginning of the game as the ball just barely gets across midfield, and Western Connecticut State able to retain possession. Clay Arnold, the junior attackman out of Syracuse, New York, 11 goals, 7 assists, 18 points, 2nd on the team in all 3 categories. Junior transfer out of Onondaga Community College, one of the twins on this Beacons team, Clay and Croy from upstate New York. Probably a little bit more used to this weather than some of their New England teammates. Anthony Tortora, senior midfielder out of Medford, Massachusetts. He was a 2nd-team all-conference player a year ago in the midfield. Caldwell unable to make the catch, and the Beacons pick it up with Jack Dillon. Dillon, the University of Hartford transfer, another all-conference player a season ago. Already mentioned Derek D.P. Trantonio and Dillon, 2 of the Beacons' better defenders. Josh Holmes, who has it now behind the cage, freshman attackman out of Weymouth, Mass. Roger Williams transfer, didn't play there as the Beacons throw it out of bounds right in front of their own bench. Holmes on the season, 9 goals, 7 assists, 16 points amongst the top 3 in all 3 categories. Alex Surrett, the Beacons' very talented freshman goalie out of Melrose, Massachusetts. 2-3 on the year, 63 saves, 69 goals allowed. A goals against average just over 12.5, a save percentage just under 48%. As Western Connecticut State picks up the successful clear attempt, pass near side, very far out of bounds as Western was looking to get it back to Forrestal on the near side, but he never even put up a stick looking for the pass. Matt Murphy will be the Beacons' main face-off guy and a long pull defenseman on defense. The sophomore D out of Watertown, Massachusetts, comes in with 21 ground balls and 12 caused turnovers. Face-off percentage just under 42%. Mentioned Dylan, the junior long stick midfielder, working with the short stick today, though, out of Barrington, Rhode Island. 22 ground balls, 11 caused turnovers. And finally, Jim Gannon, the junior D out of Medfield, Mass. Another Roger Williams transfer, comes in with 12 ground balls and 5 caused turnovers. Working with it behind the net is Holmes, a bouncing pass to the near side for Adam Caravo. Didn't mention him in the starting lineup, but he's out there on offense. The freshman attackman out of Hudson, Massachusetts, leads the team with 13 goals, 8 assists, and 21 points overall. Sam Matton up top, another guy who's seen a lot of time as a freshman, and his early shot, a bouncer that's picked up by Tynan. Western Connecticut State will look to go out wide. It's Bonaparte cutting in, and his pass is dropped there. Unable to handle it was Brian Murchison. Murchison, a University of Buffalo transfer, didn't play at the Division I school. Junior midfielder out of Huntington, New York, was the team's backup face-off guy behind Yersha. But when I say backup, I mean 7 total attempts on the season, 4 of 7. That's how active Yersha's been. Went 14 of 16 the other day in the win over Mitchell. Sam Matton working with it behind the net. A pair of Beacons are back there, Matton and Holmes. Holmes will give way. Matton will just trot over back to the near side to Caravo. We've seen just 2 shots here in the opening 4 minutes and 15 seconds. 1 save from Tynan, the other shot got knocked down. A lot of turnovers, a lot of sloppy play. Now, if you're wondering how can you play lacrosse in snow, you can't see the ball. Well, they went out and they bought orange balls, so that makes it a little bit easier, although Western Connecticut State wearing the burnt orange uniforms, sure that there'll be a couple of instances where the ball gets lost in the uni. Sam Matton with it up top. Matton working on the defender Murchison, who gave up the ball in the midfield. Holmes trying to bully his way towards the net. The turnaround shot, and Tynan can't make the save. An early goal there from Josh Holmes, the assist to Sam Matton, and the Beacons take the 1-0 lead 5 minutes and 1 second in. Holmes with his 10th goal on the season. Sam Matton picks up his first collegiate assist. The Beacons take the 1-0 lead just 5:01 in. That's a big step for a Beacons team that has been falling behind, and in some instances just falling behind big. The Beacons have trailed in all 3 of their home games during this 4-game homestand to start the stand. They had to come back in a 3-2 win over Riviere, the lowest scoring game in program history, as the face-off ball is lost. The only guys who can see it right now are Bonaparte and Dylan picked up the ground ball, but he's going to be called for the push and the infraction. Against Johnson and Wales, the Beacons fell behind by about a half dozen, and then Bowdoin raced out to a 7-0 lead after 10-0 early on in the second in the game that the Beacons never got closer than 8 goals. Of course, Bowdoin plays in the NESCAC Conference, which is good at everything, but especially good at men's lacrosse. Bowdoin, ranked 18th in the conference, is, I think, the 4th or 5th highest ranked team in the national poll. Up top, chance from distance. Surrett with the save. Ooh, that one might have skipped wide either way. That shot from distance coming from Ryan Ruling, the freshman midfielder out of Groton, Connecticut. Attended Fitch High School. 7 goals, 2 assists, 9 points in his freshman campaign. It's Ruling with it right now, giving it off to Thomas. And now behind the net, looking to pick it back up as Ganem works against the offensive player. The offensive player who lost it there was Swenson. Ganem still working with Dylan, and Dylan can't quite handle it, able to escort it over to Surrett. And the Beacons have caused another turnover here. Western has been sloppy. Not surprising, really. Despite having this be a 3 o'clock start, Western was here by noon, which means for the 3.5, 4-hour drive, especially in snow, they were probably up at about 6:30, 7 o'clock this morning to get an 8 o'clock bus. So not necessarily what college students enjoy doing. Calvin Lee, his first touch of his second senior season, the 5th-year senior who had more eligibility left, gives it over to the near side where Will Christensen, our player to watch, has it. Christensen being given room on the outside, a pair of defenders waiting to meet him. Working first against Murchison, He'll send it back out top for Connor Smith. So the Beacons actually playing with their full retinue of players. Connor Smith had missed the past couple games. Calvin Lee had not played in a game this season. They also have Eric Walrath as Caravel looked to come near side, and Clay Arnold unable to handle it. It'll go out of bounds off the Beacons. It also looks like Dan Garrity, one of their top face-off men from a year ago, is also available, and as is Jack Fournier. So for the first time all season long, UMass Boston is fully healthy, and that means that they don't get one or two guys back. It's 5 guys who were all members of last year's team. A huge couple of additions to this Beacons team that is so young. They've been going with an attacking core of all freshmen or transfers in their first year with the Beacons, building chemistry on the fly, and it hasn't necessarily been easy during this homestand. Ganem tries to force the turnover, and instead, looking away from the ball, it's Surratt picking it up. His pass for Croy Arnold will come across midfield. Croy had no opposition. They were able to pick it up. Croy in front for Calvin Lee. Couldn't make the catch, and it's out of bounds. We'll see if they give the Beacons the pass of the shot. They're going to say that it was a shot, but either way, Tynan the closest player to it. Tynan's pass bounces through, and Lee picks it up. Folks, I'm already going to apologize as Lee takes a shot, and that one is over the end line, and it'll stay with the Beacons. It's going to be tough to keep up with the action today because sometimes 2 players look like they're going after the ball, and instead it's in a completely different area of the attacking or defensive turn as the 2 of our 3 referees will talk. It's very difficult to see this orange ball. Not that the white ball would have been any easier. Today's referees, Mike Graziano, Patrick Hill, and John Maggiacomo. Having a long conversation about this. It should be the Beacons' ball behind the net. Instead, it looks like the Beacons will start with it out wide with Clay Arnold on the far side. I can't imagine how our camera ladies are going to do. If I'm struggling this much, it's even more difficult when you look through the lens of the camera, as it's Caraveau up top, back near side for Christensen. Christensen working one-on-one with Bonaparte. Christensen trying to bully his way in, takes the shot, bounces off a player. The Beacons turn, and Caraveau's shot gets knocked down by Tynan, and it squiggles through the crease, just going past the far post. A Western player picks it up. Bonaparte knocked down, and he gives the ball back to the Beacons. Caraveau, almost like a catcher there on the pass, knocks it down and goes down to a knee to pick up the ground ball. This has been a sloppy first quarter. Holmes looking to add to the Beacons lead, and his shot goes in. A 2-0 Beacons lead, 2 goals from Josh Holmes, and now we've got some extracurriculars. We'll see if this goal stands. They're going to say no goal.
Correction, no goal.
It's going to be on Bonaparte. Taekwon Bonaparte's going to be called for a pushing penalty with 30 seconds.
Western
And I think
penalty on number 0, Taekwon Bonaparte.
I think the reason they're going to call off this goal is for a crease violation. Holmes might have gotten just a little bit too close into the net there as he very nearly netted his second goal in the opening 9 minutes. Caraveau leaves the ball behind and picks it up. Getting it across for Lee, who was so strong last year on the man up, scoring nearly 10 goals of his 50. Loose ball. It's a foot race to the near side, working along the blue line. Holmes there against the long stick defenseman. Coming over is Clay Arnold, and he knocks it out of bounds. Good work from the defender, Kieran Lyons, to cause the turnover and give Western Connecticut State a chance to kill off this first Beacons man-up opportunity. Western on the clear. Controlled on the near side by Yersha. Yersha able to get it across midfield. Murchison, though, loses it. And it's picked up by the Beacons long pole defender Murphy, who flings it back for Surratt. 1-0 Beacons lead, a goal scored just about 5 minutes ago. Josh Holmes from Sam Matton, the lone goal thus far. DP Trantonio trying to send it across midfield, gives it right up to the long stick in front of him. Good defensive work from Swenson, and the Beacons get it right back. I have a feeling that's going to happen quite a lot today. Turnover after turnover as DP Trantonio trying to avoid the opposing long pole. Cullen Roberts, and we're going to get a stoppage and I believe a Beacons timeout. 5:18 to go, first quarter. UMass Boston 1, Western Connecticut State 0. The Beacons leading on the back of a Josh Holmes goal. We'll take an audio break right now as this turnover-filled first quarter continues here on James Cotter Field. $14 turnovers here in the first 9 minutes and 42 seconds. 8 for the Colonials, 6 for the Beacons. It's UMass Boston ball out of the timeout. Caraveau across for Connor Smith, who was the Beacons' second leading goal scorer a year ago. So they get both Smith and Lee back, and that takes so much pressure off of the Beacons' youngsters. Talk about Holmes, Caraveau, Christensen, all freshmen in their first year in collegiate lacrosse. Caraveau with it up top, the Beacons leading goal, assist, and point scorer on the year. Over to Christensen, has the hot hand, 5 points in his last game against Bowdoin, a new career high. Being ridden by a pair of defenders, able to maintain possession and get behind the net. Haven't seen the shot clock go into effect yet today as the pass into traffic, a bad, ill-advised pass from Christensen, looking for either Holmes or Lee both in front, and it's easily a turnover, the 7th of the day for the Beacons. 15 for the game. We've seen 1 goal and 15 turnovers. This game could set new ratios for the most goals, or the fewest goals compared to turnovers in a game. As there's a big hit on Bonaparte. Laying him out is Tortora, who draws the contact on the other side, and I think we're going to see a penalty on Anthony Tortora. That was one of the best hits of the season we've seen, but not quite legal as he came in from behind and took out the smaller Bonaparte. And we'll see Western go on the man up for the first time today. And now they're bringing Matt Murphy over to talk to the referee. I didn't see Murphy involved in the play. Tortora's taking his spot up in the man down. Tortora, 30 seconds for the push. And Matt Murphy's been given a penalty for interference. So the Beacons 2 men down, just 4 defenders back, along with Surratt. Aiden Pugsley's on the field for the first time, along with Ranta, DP Trantonio, and Ganem. So 3 of the Beacons' normal defenders, along with Pugsley, who's more of a reserve. Chance for Western to get back into this game, trailing 1-0. Pass in front, and it's turned over. Surratt picks it up, and Ranta, the long pole, pick it up. Has 3 players chasing him. Gets across midfield. The Beacons just trying to kill off some clock here, and Ranta, the freshman out of Newton, Massachusetts, runs all the way down the field, trying to get it over to Lee, and I believe Calvin was able to scoop that up. It does appear so, as the defender Kolasinski, the team's top long pole, is guarding him, and the Beacons already get Murphy back, and Tortora is waiting his turn. 3:30 to go in this first quarter. 1 goal, the lone goal coming 4 minutes and 59 seconds in, off the stick of Josh Holmes, who scored a second goal that was waved off for a crease violation. So the Beacons are back to even strength. UMass Boston 1, Western Connecticut State 0 in the Little East Conference opener. The Beacons looking for their first win over the Colonials since 2006. Christensen well wide, and the Beacons will retain possession as the closest player to it was Holmes. Playing with an orange ball today, trying to make things a little bit easier. Now, the good thing is the snow is kind of stopped. It's more just rain. Not that that makes it any easier to stand up or to see. The shot from the near side goes wide, and Arnold, the closest player to it, as the ball went out of bounds. We'll stay with the Beacons. My name is Seth Orensky, bringing you the action of this Little East Conference opener. When they said April Fool's Day, didn't expect that the weather would be the prankster today, as Holmes able to pick up the loose ball behind the net. off a Beacons shot, and Holmes will send it back out top for Connor Smith. Smith, another transfer on this Beacons team out of the University of Tampa, Division II power that made it to the Final Four his freshman year. Caravo's shot off the back of the netting. Got the Beacons bench up and shouting, but they were confused a bit there, and it's controlled by Western Connecticut State. We're down to 2:15 to go in this fast-moving first quarter. A Beacons double team forces the turnover, and Caravo, the nice ground ball. Ryan Ruling giving the ball up for Western Connecticut State. The Beacons have controlled for much of the past 4 to 5 minutes, but unable to double up their lead. Smith working with it. Tough to really get any hard moves going to the net just because you're worried about your footing. Not that we've seen a ton of guys go down today on this turf field that was cleared as best as the Beacons facilities crew and some of the scratches for today could do. Christensen behind the net for Holmes, the lone goal scorer near side for Matton, who picked up his first collegiate assist. He has just 2 goals to his name. Matton will back it up across. A good look there for Christensen, the hard shot, and another save. Patrick Tynan, who gave up 14 goals a year ago to UMass Boston, has made a couple of them here in the first quarter. We've probably had 3 to 4 times as many turnovers as shots, but the Beacons gotten off a couple in a row, just unable to beat Tynan. Bringing it across midfield is Alec DeRosa. A chance for Western here in the final minute to potentially tie this game up and get some momentum going into the second. This is a much deeper team than a year ago. Last season, 21 guys on the roster, played 13 against UMass Boston, a 14-6 loss. This year, 33 total players, a much more normal roster size for lacrosse. 22 incoming players, including 14 freshmen, as Patrick Tynan, the SUNY Plattsburgh alum and 4-year head coach at SUNY Plattsburgh, doing his best to rebuild this Western program. Western a chance up top, and the ball's turned over. Tortora picks it up, still ton of time left. 25 seconds, the Beacons in transition. Tortora looking at his options, goes out wide, finds Smith. Smith shot, and it goes through Tynan, the Beacons lead 2-0. UMass Boston adds to their lead nearly 10 minutes after scoring the first goal, and Connor Smith picks up his first goal in 4 games. Anthony Tortora the assist, and the Beacons lead is 2-0 as Connor Smith picks up goal number 8 on the year. Anthony Tortora picks up his 3rd assist, and now this is a big face-off if you're Western. Can you do something with the final 15.7 ticks? Murphy on the other side for the Beacons will just look to tie up Ryan Yersha and kill off the final couple of seconds. Yersha wins it, immediately double team, able to hold on. Yersha trying to create some havoc, pass near side, and Surratt makes the save, I believe. Might have gone a little bit wide. A good look from John Forrestal in the near corner. Still 6.1 ticks left. Starting from behind the net, it's Caldwell. Caldwell needs to make a move quickly. Pass near side, high shot, bouncer, and Surratt made the save. Not sure if it would have counted on the look from Ryan Ruling. After 1 quarter of play, UMass Boston 2, Western Connecticut State 0. The first goal scored 5 minutes in. The second goal scored with 15 seconds left. This Little East Conference opener not being played on the conditions we expected. This is the Beacon's 6th home game of the season. The first 2, the first week of February, were gorgeous. Temperatures in the 40s, sunny. Since then, we've seen rain. We've seen temperatures close to 0 thanks to the wind chill, and now snow on the field. It's actually getting worse as the season goes along. We'll take an audio break and be back with the second quarter of play as UMass Boston leads Western Connecticut State 2-0. 15 minutes to go before halftime. Make sure to stick with us at halftime. We'll have some videos of some of the other Beacons teams and some updates of some of the other events going on campus. Remember, today was supposed to be the Little East Conference opening day for baseball, softball, men's lacrosse, women's lacrosse, men's tennis, and even outdoor track, but not so much. This is one of just 3 conference contests going on today. 2 women's lacrosse games and this the lone men's lacrosse game going on in the Little East. UMass Boston leads 2-0. Murphy, the clean face-off draw. That's big working against a guy like Ryan Yersha. Last year, the Beacons had no problems in the face-off X, winning 17 of 27 thanks to Phil Trung, their face-off specialist, having a big day. But Phil Trung graduated, and Western improved from a team rate of 23% to a guy who wins well over 50%. So that was something when the Beacons were talking about this matchup. They said they had to do a good job in the face-off X. Thus far, doing a decent job. We haven't seen many of them, and that was a clean win of Beacons having a chance to add to their lead. Currently already lead 2-0 on goals from Holmes and Smith. This Beacons team healthy for the first time this year. Calvin Lee, the huge addition, making his season debut. The Beacons' leading goal scorer from a year ago with over 50 goals and 80 total points. Beacons' turnover leads to Western starting with the ball from behind their own net. It's Taekwon Bonaparte looking to go through a pair of Beacons. UMass Boston's tried to get physical against this Western team, and they forced a turnover. The combination there of Clay Arnold and Josh Holmes. Now it's Lee out wide. Lee deking around a player. Lee in tight, and his shot gets knocked down. We're going to get a crease violation on Calvin. You can really tell where the crease is because they specifically tried to shovel out that area. So anytime you see a player with his feet in the green around the goal, that's not a good thing if you're on the offensive team's fans. As Western able to get it across midfield, working with it is Murchison, one of the team's better midfielders. Gets it forward for Forrestal. This Western team has 2 players with over 30 points. The Beacons' high point player is Caraval with just 21, but we haven't seen much from Eric Caldwell, the 33-point scorer, or John Forrestal, the 31-point scorer. 31 and 35 in your programs. Up top, it's John Ward over to Ruling, who had a shot knocked down with about a second to go in that first quarter. Gives it over for Robbie Swenson, the big 6'2", 215 attackman. Beacons double teaming as much as possible near side. The shot over the head of Surratt, and it's Robbie Swenson giving Western their first goal of the game. Swenson, his 12th goal on the season. That's 3rd on the team, and John Ward picks up the assist. That's Ward's 6th on the year, good for 3rd on the team. Ward, fun little story about Mahopac, New York. That's a small town 50 miles north of New York City. Mahopac is Algonquin for Lake of the Great Serpent. It's one of the better names behind a name I've ever heard for a city or town. As the ball is loose off the faceoff, and the Beacons win their 2nd straight to start the quarter. Murphy trying to get it over to Lee, and another turnover. So even when you win the face-off draw, it doesn't mean that you're going to get something offensively going here in this game. There's just been so many turnovers. There were 14 through the first 10 minutes, and now when I try to look over, there's already been 22 here, and we still have 12 minutes to go, 12 minutes and 30 seconds left in this second quarter. So we're averaging just under a turnover a minute, and here we have a chance for another one. Ranta trying to pick it away from Ruling. Ruling able to get it back, though. Gets some help from a teammate, and now the pass towards the far side. Tortora overruns it, still trying to pick it up. Triple teamed, able to get through it for a moment, unable to do so, and John Forrestal picks it up. So Western nearly turned it over twice, and they'll get a 3rd chance here as Western takes their first timeout. Timeout with 12 minutes exactly to go in the second quarter. UMass Boston 2, Western Connecticut State 1 in a low-scoring Little East Conference opener for both teams. Western controls on the far side. Working with it there is Sparacino. Back out up top. Ruling near side. Looking for a second one was Robbie Swenson. His shot goes wide. It'll stay with the Colonials. Sparacino behind the net. DP Trantonio giving him plenty of space. 11:35 to go. Plenty of time left in this second quarter. Western down 2-0 after the first, able to get their lone goal of the game from Swenson about 2 minutes ago. Western comes in at 3-3 off a midweek victory. Is that one knocked down by Ranta and picked up by DP Trantonio. The very tall freshman long pole out of Watertown, able to get across midfield, still with it, trying to give it off, and he loses it just as he tried to get the pass off for Holmes. UMass Boston trying to get it back, and they do so. Calvin Lee had it, but first, an infraction on his teammate, Jack Dillon. So this turnover-plagued game continues to be littered full of them. There's a big hit from Calvin Lee, not known for his physicality, and he causes the turnover. Calvin Lee laid down the lumber on a Western Connecticut State player and able to get it back. Still hasn't got his name on the score sheet, but going to be giving credit for the caused turnover on that one. Caravo works from the far side. Not going to look to push the pace right now as the Beacons just look for some offensive zone time, just like they had late in that first quarter when they dominated possession. Western's done a better job to start the second quarter despite losing both draw controls. Caravo back across for Lee. Very talented senior out of Hopkinton, Mass. Second-team All-Conference player a year ago. Injured to start the year, making his season debut. Connor Smith also back out there, has a goal in this one. Lee's shot, timed in another save. He has probably close to a full handful at this point. 3 or 4, maybe 5. Difficult footing today, which probably is going to make it a little bit more difficult for Lee, who suffered a leg injury, and no one knew where the ball was, but apparently it just made its way out of bounds, and the Beacons will get it back. Western just struggling to get out of their own defensive half, as they'll start with Connor Smith back into the game, another guy who's missed most of this 4-game homestand, the longest of the season for UMass Boston, with injuries. Smith trying to get it across, successfully finding Matton. The snow completely cleared between the 45 of Western and the 40 of UMass Boston on this facility that also poses as a football field for at least Boston College High School. UMass Boston does not have a Division III football program. The Beacons lacrosse, men's and women's soccer teams, and track and field programs use this location for their game day facility. Matton across, looking for Christensen. Couldn't quite get the handle. Now he's being pressured hard from behind, looking for help. Able to get the turn. A nice play to evade the pressure of Kolasinski. Christensen looking for a lead. Knocked down. Picked up by the long pull of Kaiser. Now Kaiser's going to take off for the races. Sam Matton, the only player looking to slow him down. Kaiser needs help, and he'll fake the pass for Swenson. Finally able to get it over for Caldwell, who's been very quiet after putting up his second game of 9 points or more in the season. Put up 10 in the opener against Mount St. Mary's, New York, 9 against Mitchell. That's where 19 of his 33 points have come. In the other 4 games, he's scored a respectable 14 points. Good for about 3.5 a game. Up top, faking the shot is Sparacino. Now it's on the far side. 8:11 to go. Western looking to come back from a 2-0 deficit. And the shot from the far side ties it. John Forrestal, his first goal of the game. And Western has scored the first 2 goals of the second quarter. Forrestal is 16th of the game. Creates a little bit of symmetry. 16 goals, 16 assists, 32 points. An unassisted tally for the Colonial senior, who did not play a season ago, but had scored 90 goals in his first 53 games, his first 3 years. For UMass Boston, their 2 goals have come from Connor Smith and Josh Holmes. but 0 here in quarter number 2. We've got believe it's a face-off violation on Western. Either way, the Beacons will get the ball back, and Dillon will start with it just inside the Colonials' defensive half. Across for Connor Smith. One transfer to another. Beacons team coming off a 12-win season, just the second in program history, tied for the most, but ultimately fell in the first round of the LEC tournament at their rival UMass Dartmouth. Is losing the ball there on the far side is Eric Walrath, the freshman, into the game for the first time and in his first collegiate contest. Turned it over and then committed the infraction. Walrath's a guy who, when he's healthy, the Beacons have high hopes for offensively. Freshman out of Groton, Mass., attended Groton Dunstable High School down on the Cape. An ice hockey, football, and lacrosse player, 5'10", 175. Western has scored 2 straight to start the quarter. Now they had the ball, a chance to take their first lead. Losing it there along the crest of Boston College High School was Alec DeRosa, and the Beacons get it back. Turnovers are just going to be a part of this game, whether the teams like it or not. Just so difficult to tell. 29 turnovers here in the first half, and we're playing a 30-minute first half. So the turnovers picking up quickly. Tortora waiting for instructions from offensive coordinator Anthony Fitty in his, I believe it's his 3rd season under Tyler Lowe. Lowe in his 7th season overall. Coached Fitty when he was a goalie on the lacrosse team. Also played forward on the men's hockey team. Smith with it up top. In no hurry here. Over to Sam Matton. Almost figure that we're going to see some more shot clocks in this game than normal, but the referees may be being even more lenient as Smith gets a shot away, well wide, but the only player behind the net, Clay Arnold, and the Beacons will retain possession. Arnold working against the long pole, back up top for Caravo, who's been silent thus far. Sam Matton working against the short stick of DeRosa. Now it's up top. Caravo thought about the shot. Gives it back for Matton. Matton over to Smith, who scored the Beacons' 2nd goal of the game with 15 seconds left in the first quarter. Caravo looking to get a turn. Unable to do so, and back up top for Matton. UMass Boston has now been scoreless for nearly 10 minutes of play. To be fair, Western Connecticut State didn't score a goal in the first quarter, so neither team has necessarily been offensive juggernauts as the shot clock has been turned on. Rare time, so the Beacons need to get a shot off within 30 seconds. Matton, the shot, the save. Oh, no, Tynan couldn't hold on. That ball looked like it ended up in his cage. Instead, Sam Matton picks up his first collegiate 2-point game, a goal and an assist, and the Beacons have a 3-2 lead. Matton, the freshman out of Sturbridge, Massachusetts, attended Tontasqua Regional High School, a soccer and lacrosse player. Today, his 8th collegiate game, had goals against Nichols and MIT. Give him a goal and an assist in this one. And it's a 3-2 Beacons lead. Face-off between Yersha and Murphy. Yersha goes to a knee and able to win it. Oh, maybe not so fast as Dillon comes away with the loose ball. Dillon loses it and gets it right back. Trying to go all the way here around Bonaparte. Gets it over to a teammate, and the shot from Holmes comes back to the near side. Must have been saved there from Tynan as it took a very odd deflection. Might have caught the top of the crossbar. Fighting along the near sideline and getting knocked down was a Beacon. We'll see if this is going to be Beacon's ball, and it will stay with UMass Boston's. Dillon got hit hard. And we'll get a stoppage as the Beacons call timeout with 4:51 and a 3-2 lead. Western Connecticut State breaks their huddle. UMass Boston still huddling up around Anthony Fitty, talking offensive logistics here. The lead is 3-2 after the goal from Sam Matton, his third of his collegiate career for the freshman. UMass Boston with goals from Holmes, Smith, and Matton on the other side for Western Connecticut State. 2 goals in the quarter, Swenson and Forrestal to come back from a 2-0 deficit, but the Beacons able to counter with the Matton goal, looking for some more. It'll be Connor Smith on the restart right in front of the Western Connecticut State bench. The Beacons in their home whites, Western in their road burnt oranges. My name is Seth Dorensky, bringing the action. Make sure to stick with us at halftime. We'll have highlights from some other Beacons games. Look at what else is going around the rest of the conference. And Beaconville is the pass behind the net from Matton. They're going to somehow say that was a shot. Nope. The Beacons tried to play it off as if it was a shot instead of a pass for Holmes. But the referee in the Western bench aware to that. And the Beacons lose possession. If that was a shot, it was about a mile wide, and as a pass, it was pretty poor as well, as the Beacons don't get anything going out of the timeout. Able to get it across midfield is DeRosa, still being badgered by the long stick of Matt Murphy. DeRosa looks like a sprinter right there, just trying to make his way down the field. We've got a stoppage, and Western will use their second timeout of the quarter.
Timeout, Western Connecticut.
Both of these coaches recognizing how big this game is. 6 teams get into the LEC tournament. A win today, as scary as it is, could be the difference in these conditions with the Little East Conference preseason poll being so close. You look at it, Keene State is the heavy favorite in this conference, as they have been the past couple of seasons, especially with Eastern Connecticut State looking a little bit down thus far in their non-conference results. Keene State picked first, all 7 first-place votes. Eastern Connecticut State picked second with 43 points, a full 13 points behind the Owls. Plymouth State picked third with 40 points. The Beacons picked fourth with 35 points. University of Southern Maine with 28, just ahead of Western Connecticut State and UMass Dartmouth, who had a coaching change this year. Both of those teams 26 points apiece, and then Salem State way back in 8th place with 13 points. So between the 4th spot and the 7th spot, you have 4 teams separated by just 9 points. One of those teams is going to miss the conference tournament along with Salem State. If Salem State is truly as bad as the rest of the teams in the conference, at least in the preseason poll, expected. So a game like this where the conditions are bad, it's almost like an equalizing factor. The Beacons offense has really struggled recently. Western's has been red hot as the pass for Ward over his head, and Jack Dillon picks up another ground ball. He has quite a few of them. Dillon leading the attack, has a couple goals and assists to his name, able to get it over to Murphy, who loses the ball. Loose ball. Dillon throws a player to the turf, and we're going to see a penalty here on the Beacons, 1 if not 2. UMass Boston has been the more aggressive team. We've seen a little bit more physicality from the Beacons on the Colonials, maybe than we're even used to seeing. And this will be the 3rd Beacon, if not 4th, to head to the penalty area. Looks like
penalty is on number 77, 30 seconds for a push.
It's going to be WestCon, though. Instead, it'll be Kevin Kaiser, 30 seconds for a push. So disregard everything I just said, and the penalty will go against the Colonials. Beacon's second man-up opportunity. The first time they turned it over, didn't get a shot off. Connor Smith has to race to get back and avoid giving it right back to the Colonials. Good pressure from Nicholas Hamed. All the way across for Caravel. 3:23 to go. Can the Beacons double up their lead? Holmes looking for his second. High shot goes well wide. Arnold once again the closest to it. That'll be Clay. Croy, haven't seen as much from him, and he's more of a box-to-box midfielder. Not going to see him necessarily in the offensive end on a man-up. Ball gets across midfield, picked up by Forrestal. And the Beacons turn it over and once again do not get a shot on the man-up opportunity. Forrestal taking it 1-on-4, gets a shot off, and the Beacons the closest to it. That was an interesting decision by John Forrestal. You have the ball in the offensive end while you're a man down, so you're not expecting to score, but With 4 players around him, if you don't score there, the Beacons almost certainly going to get the ball back as the Beacons a pass too high for Matton and it's turned over. Caldwell looking to get the turn, will wisely pull it out. Now he takes the shot, Surratt the save, but Forrestal behind the net and Western will retain possession. A much smarter decision there, at least in my opinion, by Caldwell to make sure that numbers got forward and to keep possession if he didn't in fact score. 2:42 to go. Western Connecticut State a chance to tie the game up here. They trailed 2-0 after 1, tied the game up at 2, and then the Beacons took the lead 3-2 on the marker from Sam Matton. Ruling with it, seeing him be busy, has to track back as the ball bounces towards midfield, across midfield, and it'll be an infraction against Western Connecticut State. On the restart, Holmes gives it over for Tortora. Couldn't quite handle it. Folks, it's just so difficult to follow the ball today. The players are looking for it, sometimes can't find it. Holmes the shot in tight, and Tynan makes the save. The loose ball picked up by Kaiser. Another big save from Patrick Tynan, who's seen more work than Alex Surratt, the Beacons goaltender, and has played well. Midfield, able to find the long pole of Cullen Roberts. Roberts being pressured by Tortora at least a little bit, and the ball back to the player coming across midfield. While the Beacons outscored Western 2-0 in the first quarter, Western's already outscored the Beacons 2-1 here in the second, a chance to make it 3-1 in a tie game with 90 seconds left in quarter number 2. Western in no hurry here. Shot clock hasn't been turned on. We've seen it happen once to the Beacons. Forrestal working on the bigger DP Trantonio, looking for Caldwell. The pass will come all the way out towards midfield, and it won't quite get there. Ball slowed down a little bit by some of the slush/snow still on the field, and that's the benefit of the Colonials. Minute to go in the first half. UMass Boston leads 3-2. Up top with it, John Ward. Ward across for Ruling. Ruling near side to Swenson, already with 1 goal. Ruling thought about the shot up top, instead goes near side, pass back to the near side. Maybe a bit much there from Caldwell looking for Forrestal, but it'll stay with Western on the deflection. Coming onto the track to pick this one up is Robbie Swenson. Already with 1 goal in the contest, looking to get his team into halftime with the tie game. Swenson on the restart with 40 seconds left to Ruling, and all the way to the top of the key over for Sparacino. Far side, Forrestal looking to get an angle, and an easy save from Alex Surratt. Looking for Tortora on the outlet pass. Tortora couldn't grab the ball, and Sparacino picks it up. Still 15 seconds left. Can Western find a late marker? The Beacons found one late in the first. Deep shot, and Caldwell's shot gets knocked down by a Beacon in front. Never got into Surratt. Down to 6 seconds. Loose ball on the far side. Western picks it up. Can they get anything going? Nope. Ball bounces out of the pocket of a Western player. Picked up by Tortora, and that'll do it for the first half. UMass Boston with a late goal here in quarter number 2 from Sam Matton, and that's the difference thus far. Goals from Holmes, Smith, and Matton for the Beacons. On the other side, Robbie Swenson and John Forrestal for Western Connecticut State, as the Beacons lead 3-2 at the end of one half of play. We'll take a brief audio break, and then we'll bring you the first half stats. A look around the rest of the conference and around the rest of UMass Boston, and potentially some highlights from the Beacons baseball game from last Saturday. Another rainy affair just across the way on Monon Park, although Monon Park had a little bit less white on the outfield grass as the Beacons defeated Suffolk University. Welcome back to Boston, Massachusetts. It was snowing through most of the afternoon. Now it looks like it's mostly just rain. Still not fun conditions for the players, fans, spectators, or workers, but the game goes on. 30 minutes left, 30 minutes in the books. UMass Boston leads 3-2 on a late goal from Sam Matton to give UMass Boston the lead after Western Connecticut State scored the first 2 goals of the second quarter. Shots 18-10 in favor of UMass Boston. 8 saves from Patrick Tynan, just 2 for Alex Soret, who hasn't been tested nearly as much. The faceoffs are one of the main stories in this game. UMass Boston came in with a much lower team faceoff percentage, but Matt Murphy's done a great job against Ryan Yersha, winning 5 of 7. Turnovers 36 in 30 minutes. A lot of that has to do with the conditions. Neither team typically turns the ball over this much, but it certainly has been a sloppy first half of play. 19 for the Colonials, 17 for the Beacons. Both teams 0 for 2 on the man up, as UMass Boston holds the 3-2 overall advantage. We'll move along and take a look around the rest of the conference, as UMass Boston and Western Connecticut State, the lone teams playing today. Keene State against UMass Dartmouth down in Dartmouth, Massachusetts will be played tomorrow at noon. Eastern Connecticut State at Southern Maine. The farther north you go, the worse this weather was supposed to be, so no date on when they'll reschedule their game. Salem at Plymouth State, same thing. Plymouth, New Hampshire, was supposed to be hit by as much as a foot of snow this week after they were hit by a foot of snow last weekend. Can't be fun to be up there in Plymouth trying to figure out rescheduling if you're part of that athletic department. Right now we'll take a look around the rest of Beaconville. All the Beacon spring teams were supposed to play today. None of them did except for the lacrosse team. The track and field team will compete tomorrow at Tufts University as part of the Tufts Snowflake Classic. Got to give the Tufts Athletics Department a lot of credit. They were spot on in the naming of that track competition. In 2 weeks, they'll host the Tufts Sunshine Classic. Hopefully, they'll be spot on 2 weeks from now as well, as this weather has not been very nice the past couple of weeks here in New England. The baseball team still scheduled to go to UMass Dartmouth tomorrow. That game was originally supposed to be today, pushed back to tomorrow at noon. The men's tennis team still scheduled to host UMass Dartmouth tomorrow at 1 p.m. The tennis courts just to our right, they're wet, but they're not covered in snow, so that's a start. On the other hand, the softball team hosting Plymouth State in games that were supposed to be originally at Plymouth State moved to Boston this weekend. Those games most likely will not be played tomorrow just because there is so much snow and rain and slush on the softball field. We'll look ahead for UMass Boston. They continue conference play next Sunday at Eastern Connecticut State, but first they close out regular season non-conference play at Wheaton College on Tuesday night, and then 2 weeks from now they'll take on Little East Conference preseason favorite Keene State. That's a 3:30 p.m. game. For Western Connecticut State, they're right back in non-conference action this week as they take on New England College on Wednesday at 7 p.m. on the road, and then they have Southern Maine next Saturday in their Little East Conference home opener at noon. Right now we'll play you the highlights from the Beacons' last home game that we have highlights for, at least the Beacons baseball team, as UMass Boston defeated Suffolk University last Saturday in walk-off fashion, a 6-5 victory. Anthony Searles, the hero in that one. 3-2 pitch, swung on and missed, got him on the fist. And Dan Mantoni works himself back from a 3-0 count to pick up a leadoff strikeout.
Mantoni's not really a pitcher. He's just an athlete. He's got quick feet.
Runner takes off to throw into second. Riley the tag, and the Beacons get him. Chip game, dyeing their hair just like most of the island of Puerto Rico. 2-1 pitch. Both runners take off to throw to second. It's high, and the Beacons complete the double steal. 3-1 pitch here to Lopez, a high chopper. That's going to score a run. The shortstop, Cameron, bobbling it, and the Beacons will get a run. 0-1 pitch to him, grounded right up the middle. That one has eyes. The shortstop, Cameron, comes across, but it's enough to score the runner. The Beacons with 2 runs in the inning, as Rogers, maybe a bit unfortunate not to pick up the infield single. 2-1 pitch to Tyrone. That ball's hit out to left field. Herzog going back on it. This ball will die right in front of the warning track, and Mantoni works around the bases loaded with 1 down to strand 3.
Bound to a catcher.
1-2, that one's ripped out to left field. Herzog's not going to get there. That one bounces right in front of the fence out there in left center. Fraschido's throw to second is going to be close, but it didn't quite get there in time. A nice slide from Coyley, who has the one-out double. 0-1 pitch to Jerome with the bases loaded. Hits it over to second. Lopez's only play is to first. The run will come home, and it's tied 2-2 as he comes in a tough spot here with the runner on second and immediately gives up a hard single down the left field side. That's going to score a run, and Brady Chant 0 for 3 against Dan Mantoni. 1 for 1 against Matt Tully, and the Beacons deficit all of a sudden is 5-2. Voices Walrod tried to get the runner at third. Murphy flares it out to right field. This one might get down. The right fielder is going to make the diving effort. It'll go as a sacrifice fly with the 2 lead runners moving up. 1-1 pitch bounces through, and that one's going to get back to the stop. Hughie with a good jump to begin with, and it's a wild pitch to cut the deficit to 5-4. And the 0-2 pitch on the outside corner, strike 3. Tully gets out of the jam. A 1-0 pitch, and McCormick hits that one out to left field. Going back on his Grogan once again. Not going to make the play. McCormick, a pinch hit, RBI double, and we're tied at 5-5. Brendan Iger wrote, did not want that man bunting. Egan's certainly hoping to get back into the dugout quickly. Swung on and missed a half-hearted swing. Searles applies the tag. 5 strikeouts in 3 1/3 innings for Matt Tully. Gets 2 runners on and a pair of walks to start the bottom of the 9th inning. And Searles is swinging. That ball's hit deep out to center. It's over the head of Chant, and the Beacons are going to win it. Danielson rounds third base, and Anthony Searles his first hit in a while, and it's a walk-off RBI double, and UMass Boston wins 6-5, coming back from a 5-2 deficit, and Searles is mobbed at the second base bag. What a Back to live action. The 2 teams starting a little bit earlier with still time left on the clock. The Beacons win yet another face-off. Matt Murphy looking to go all the way. Murphy will duck behind the net, loses it for a moment, trying to get back up. He's getting whacked in the side, and it's picked up by Western Connecticut State's Kieran Lyons. And now a Beacon ends up on the track as it'll stay with Western Connecticut State. Taekwon Bonaparte will try to bring it up the field. Western on the clear attempt here, just 30 seconds in. The pass ahead, able to find Sparacino, who has the ball stripped away. Picked up by Calvin Lee, who doesn't have any goals or assists, but has still had an impact as his pass knocked down by the long pole. UMass Boston able to retain possession. Dillon stripped from behind, but he's not going to give up on the play. Takes out a player in the process. Lee decks another player. That's Bonaparte. Calvin Lee has a mean streak in him. Must not be too happy having to sit on the bench for a couple of games. And now it's Jack Dillon taking out Matthew Kolsinski. This is the most big hits I've seen from UMass Boston all season long. I'm sure the snow's helping guys lose their footing a little bit, but it's still impressive nonetheless. Lee trying to bully his way through, and we've got a stoppage. And we'll see what's going on here. Couple of players trotting on and off for their respective sides. It's going to be a penalty against Cullen Roberts of Western Connecticut State. 30 seconds for pushing. So after all of the big checks from the Beacons, it's Western Connecticut State charged with the pushing penalty. And UMass Boston goes man up for the 3rd time today. 0 for 2 on the day. UMass Boston operating on the season about 21%. Clay Arnold from behind the net over to Lee. Finds Caravo had a lane. Instead gives it off for Holmes. Holmes back for Lee. Hasn't looked for his shot. Pass goes all the way through. Able to be picked up by Holmes. Holmes faked the pass. Over for Lee. Lee across for Smith. One goal looking for a second time. It might have gotten a piece. And it ends up behind the net. Matton with it. The Beacons still have a few more seconds on the man up. Holmes for Lee. Looking to fire. And Lee's shot goes wide. Western returns to even strength here, but the Beacons will retain possession. Just 2 minutes in, the Beacons looking to add on to their 3-2 lead. They led by a 2-0 margin at the end of one. Neither team is led by more than 2 goals. Western has still not led in this game. Able to tie it up at 2-2, but it was this man, Sam Matton, scoring about 5 minutes left in that second quarter to give the Beacons a lead heading into the break. Caraveau working off of Brian Murchison. Caraveau behind the net for Lee, looking to get the turn. Lee, the shot, and the score. Calvin Lee, his first goal of 2017, and what a great sight that is for Beacons fans, as the senior who missed the Beacons' first 7 games of the season gets in on the action with goal number 1.
Assisted by number 24, Adam Caraveau.
Adam Caraveau, his first assist, team leading 9th on the season, and UMass Boston ties their largest lead of the game at 4-2. Lee last year with 4 goals in the win over Western Connecticut State on 12 total shots gets his first goal of the season against the Colonials. Dillon picks up the faceoff try. Tried to go for Lee. Instead, the loose ball ends up in the key there, and it's picked up by Tynan, who's had quite the game. That's Patrick. His younger brother Sean is on, well, actually it's his twin brother Sean is on the team as well, but Sean, just a sophomore, attended Nuntuck Community College and did not play there, so he's 2 years behind academically, but the same year, at least in terms of birth date. The high shot, and answering right back is Eric Caldwell with his first of the day. So the two teams trade goals within a minute of each other, and it's 4-3, just 2 minutes and 53 seconds in to quarter number 3. For Caldwell, it's his 25th goal on the season for the freshman. Ryan Ruling picks up the assist. That's number 3 on the year. So another big face-off. The Beacons have won the majority of them. Won 5 out of 7 in the first half, and the first one here in the second half. In fact, I think they've won both here in the second half. This was supposed to be a strength of Western Connecticut State. Yersha fighting there, and Murphy trying to get it over to Dillon, who's had quite a few ground balls. The ball's still loose. 3 players for both sides fighting in there, and finally able to pick it up is Brian Murchison for Western Connecticut State. Murchison across for Yersha, who's really just a face-off specialist, has 2 assists on the season, but for the most part, wins the face-off, heads to the bench, and they get an offensive player on there for him, and he'll do just that as he heads to the bench right now. Western with the ball, coming off a goal on their last possession, looking to tie this game up. It was UMass Boston 2-0. Western scored 2 goals in a row. The Beacons scored 2. As there's the goal from the far side. Back-to-back goals from Caldwell. He's the first to score multiple goals. And we're back to a 4-4 game.
Western Connecticut goal scored by number 31, Eric Caldwell, assisted by number 23, Robbie Swenson.
Robbie Swenson adds an assist to his total. He's got a goal and an assist on the day. And after the Beacons scored the first goal of this quarter to take a 4-2 lead, Western has responded back with 2 of their own. We're tied at 4-4. Big draw between Murphy and Yersha. Yersha was able to win the last one thanks to some help from his teammates. The ball's loose, going towards the far side, and it's picked up by the long pole of Kevin Coyle. Back-to-back face-off wins for Western, but they turn it right back over. The pass on the far side evades Caldwell, and the Beacons will get it back. Ranta across for Surratt, and the Beacons will look to settle. Neither team has really pressured the initial passes out of the outlet, as they know that they're going to be able to get some double teams in tight. The crossfield pass finds Ranta on the far side, and he'll be given midfield, working against the much smaller Taekwon Bonaparte. Ranta over for Tortora, and Tortora will look for the successful clear attempt and is able to break inside the 30. Tortora up for Will Christensen, who's been very quiet after a 5-point performance against Bowdoin, one of the top teams in the country. Smith all the way across, gets it right back from Holmes, and now he'll look near side for Sam Matton. Matton has a career-high 2 points in this one and a goal and an assist already. Matton behind the net for Lee, who scored the last Beacons goal, his first of his second senior season, came back to UMass Boston with athletic eligibility still left. His pass in front. Christensen couldn't get the shot off, and Tynan able to pick up the loose ball. It was a perfect pass, but in and out of the stick there of Christensen, and Tynan dove for it, able to make the play, and Western has a chance for their first lead of the game. Trailed 2-0 and 4-2. Pass ahead, able to find Sparacino, who bounces off a smaller Beacon. Sparacino being given space. He'll pass it behind for Murchison. Rather, John Ward. 1, not 7. Rolling back for Sparacino, and that give and go accomplished. Ward with space up top. Beacons were able to hold Caldwell scoreless in the first half, but he has to 1 goal in the first half. He's got his second here in the third quarter. Caldwell with it right now, the 6'5" right-hander. Near side for Sparacino. Tries to get a deke off, unable to get room around Tortora. Pass back to the near side, and unable to handle that one was Ryan Ruling originally, able to pick up the loose ball and keep possession. Caldwell facing the long stick pole of Murphy. The deep shot bounces through Surred, and Western has their first lead of the day at 5-4. The Colonials with 3 straight goals to take their first lead 36 minutes and 26 seconds in.
By number 31, Eric Caldwell. Assisted by number 22, Ryan Ruling.
Ryan Ruling picks up yet another assist, and Western is feeling it right now. They've scored 3 in a row, and 5 of the last 7 to take a 5-4 lead. Murphy and Yersha once again. Beacons won the majority of the faceoffs in the first half. Western has done a much better job here in the second half, as they've scored 3 of the 4 goals. Yersha wins it himself. He'll look to lead the charge here. No one stepping towards him. Finally, Tortora able to cut off the angle enough, and Yersha will hang out behind the net. Gives it up over for Caldwell. This is a dangerous time right now if you're a Beacons fan, as Western has started to take some initiative. Low shot, Caldwell well wide, but only player behind the net is Forrestal for Western. Ganem pressuring the inbounds. Out top, Caldwell looking for Ruling, who's been one of the better playmakers today. Ruling near side, Sparacino. Sparacino right back up for Ruling. Hasn't looked for his own shot. Caldwell looking for the hat trick, and he's got it. Eric Caldwell, his 3rd goal of the game, and Western has scored 4 in a row to take a 6-4 lead. Those 2 goals separated by 40 seconds, the last 2. And we'll see what UMass Boston does here, all of a sudden down by 2. Their biggest deficit of the game. Their first deficit of the game was 5-4 at 40 seconds ago. Now it's 6-4. And it's been all Western here in the first half of this third quarter. We're not even fully 7.5 minutes in, but Western has scored 4 of 5 goals in 4 in a row. Yersha working there in the faceoff, draws the contact from Murphy, and that's a no-no. Western retains possession. The orange and navy blue clad Colonials jumping up and down just off of their bench, and the Beacons noticeably silent at this point. They played very well in the first half, kept Western Connecticut State to just 2 goals, but Western has made some adjustments here in the second half, and they're playing much better. What can the Beacons do to counter that? Behind the net, strong move from Swenson over to Forrestal, looking to bully his way through Ganem. Forrestal holding on to the ball, finally gives it up for Swenson. This Western team came in averaging 13 goals per game, coming off a big win over Mitchell College, in which they scored 17 times. UMass Boston hasn't scored in double digits in their last 5 games. Long pass coming towards the sideline, and that will not get out. Oh, just barely gets out of bounds to the benefit of the Beacons. Connor Smith will pick it up just short of midfield on the restart. Will quickly rush past midfield, trying to get around a turn. Still able to keep his footing, working there against the long pole. Good pressure from Cullen Roberts forces him to give it up. Beacons could desperately use a goal or even just a good offensive possession here after Western has dominated the ball for much of the past 3.5 minutes. Caraval left the ball behind, And it's going to end up out of bounds right at midfield. On the restart, Western just inside the Beacons' half. It's Swenson. Over for Ruling, and this is where Western has shown some really good patience. Moving the ball around, trying to get good looks. Done a better job of limiting the turnovers here in this half as well. Still plenty of time left. 6:16 to go in the third quarter. Over 20 minutes to go, but it's been all Western over the past 8. Ruling looking to get a turn. Tortora, the midfielder on him. Ruling will back it up past the 35-yard line. Now we'll look to make an attack. Ruling giving over the short stick, and that shot goes wide. A good look from distance from Christopher Sparacino. Closest player to it behind the net was Robbie Swenson, and he'll start working on the long pole of Ranta. Finds Ward just onto the field. Ward with the cradle. Hanging out. Has options on the far side as Western will make some more substitutions. As they try to get John Thomas out onto the field defensively. And now Thomas will come on. Thomas, a senior midfielder out of Waterford, Connecticut. 2 goals and 2 assists. Clearly had not seen a ton of time today as he was slow to get his gloves on. Might have been one of the guys who was wearing the heavy navy blue jackets, trying to stay warm on the sideline to the right of the Western bench. Shot clock turned on for Western Connecticut State. They're going to stop the clock so the shot clock can be turned on. Still trying to figure that out. And they're going to now restart play after the shot clock has 30 seconds on it. Looking to come all the way around, pass in front, and it's a turnover as the look from Forrestal was trying to find Thomas just into the game, but Thomas couldn't make the catch, and the Beacons get the fortuitous bounce. Dillon behind the net for Holmes as the Beacons have given up 4 straight goals. They scored 3 in the first half. The first goal of the second half coming from Calvin Lee. Since then, haven't really gotten anything going offensively. It's Lee on the near side. Up top for Christensen, and nothing's going on. The long pole rushes across midfield to allow Matton to come across. Matton in a foot race there, able to make the catch despite the fact that Yersha was right on his back. The good news was Yersha was so intent on keeping up with Matton, didn't look up for the pass. Smith back across for Christensen. Dangerous pass. Yersha read it perfectly, but couldn't make the catch. Now Matton's loose. The defender's going to come over and pick him up. Lee looking to dart around, looking for the pass in front. Clay Arnold puts it home on the feed from Lee, and the Beacons have cut it back to a 6-5 deficit.
Number 7, Clay Arnold, assisted by number 3, Calvin Lee.
And that is why Calvin Lee is so vital to the Beacons' offense, drawing both defenders on the near post, leaving Arnold wide open. And Arnold didn't even make the catch. He just pushed the ball into the wide open net. That's a big goal for Clay Arnold.
What do you say? Hit reset on the clock. Hit reset on the shot clock.
For Arnold, that's goal number 12, his 19th point.
Reset then. My fault. You're good now.
Calvin Lee picks up his first assist. Give him a goal and assist in his 2017 debut. Yersha and Murphy once again. Ball pops out, and Yersha had it for a second, had it pop loose. Lee got some contact on Yersha, but it's controlled by Western. Kolosinski with the ground ball. Kolosinski playing catch with Kaiser. Back to Kolosinski, who will go forward for Ruling. Ruling being pressured a bit there by Holmes. Western in no rush to get this across midfield. Bouncing ball, the Beacons triple teaming the Colonials and forced a turnover. Giving it up that time was Brandon Heap. The Beacons, though, almost giving it right back as Holmes gets taken to the ground. Picked up by Murphy. That wasn't enough for a flag. Lee trying to get towards the net. A behind-the-back shot, and Calvin Lee is back, I believe. What a shot from Calvin Lee over the shoulder, and it's 6-6. The creativity, the gumption, and the goal. 2 goals from Lee. And the sad part is I couldn't quite see it. But he bullied his way through the bigger defender, Brandon Heap, to tie this game at 6. So Lee has 2 goals in the quarter and an assist. And the Beacons have fought their way back from down 4-2 to take a 6-4 lead. That's got to be a face-off violation, as they didn't even wrestle for control. Second time that Western has immediately had to back out of the face-off. Chance for the Beacons to score their 3rd straight goal and to take the lead right back. They led for the final 10 minutes of the first half, almost all of the second quarter, and up until the 8:40 mark of this third quarter, they were leading or tied, but Western took a 6-4 lead, scoring 4 straight goals. The Beacons have answered with 2 in a row. Clay Arnold from Calvin Lee, and then Calvin Lee unassisted to tie this game up. 2 minutes left in the third quarter. Little East Conference opener between UMass Boston and Western Connecticut State. Holmes scored the first one, looking for the second one, had to stick up his jersey. Holmes to a unguarded Caravo. Across for Christensen. Christensen making a move on Yersha. Christensen in tight. Another save from Patrick Tynan. He's in double digits. The senior doing everything he can to keep his team in this. Long pass. Kept alive by Kieran Lyons. Lyons into the defensive end. Broken up there nicely by Ranta. And able to keep that one in on the far side was Eric Caldwell, but Caldwell can't keep it in bounds for long, and the Beacons get the turnover right back. Ranta does a nice job to make the catch and spin into the offensive end. No one's going to stop him. The long ball in tight, gives it off, holds the shot, and what a save from Tynan. I'm not sure if he got all of it, but enough to knock it wide as he was diving to the near post trying to close off the angle. A beautiful effort there from the senior, from Patrick from Somers, Connecticut, using his full 5'10" frame. Under a minute to go here in what's been an exciting third quarter, an exciting Little East Conference opener. Smith can't quite make the catch, slows it down, able to find Christensen. Lee in tight, turns, swerves, shoots and scores. He's got the hat trick, and the Beacons have the lead. 7 goals on the day, 3 from Calvin Lee and an assist. The senior who missed the last couple weeks of preseason and the first month of the season has made his presence known in a big way, as he has 2 goals in a row to tie it and give the Beacons the lead. And he and Eric, for that brief technical delay, lost internet here in the press box. The good news is that you didn't miss much. There was a late turnover from Western Connecticut State. UMass Boston leads 7-6. They scored the final 3 goals of this third quarter. Calvin Lee with 2 goals and an assist. He's got 3 goals and an assist all in the third quarter and for the game, making his 2017 debut after being a second team all-conference honoree a season ago in his first year with the Beacons. He's in his second senior season with UMass Boston, 3rd overall season playing college lacrosse after spending a year up at Colby College in Maine. 15 minutes on the clock for the fourth quarter. We'll take a brief audio delay along with the teams and then be back. UMass Boston leads 7-6 after 3 quarters of action in this, their Little East Conference opener.
The dumbest addition to a sport
The ball will start in the Beacons' defensive end. UMass Boston had the ball at the end of the third quarter. Matt Murphy is in the penalty area. Didn't see what that was while we were trying to fix the technical difficulties. Murphy's in there for 1 minute for a slash, but the ball will start with UMass Boston all the way in that far right corner, as far away from the press box as you can go. Ganem looking to find Surratt. Dangerous pass, but Alex able to hold on against the very large Caldwell, but Surratt's errant pass goes over Ganem, and a chance for Western Connecticut State, already a man up here, to get a good look with 14:48 to go in the fourth quarter. Neither team has been successful on the man up today. UMass Boston 0 for 3. I believe this is Western's third effort as well. Caldwell, the shot in tight, misses it. And Forrestal, the closest player to it. It'll stay with the Colonials. That was a quick look, just 7 seconds coming off the clock. It was 2-0 UMass Boston after 1, 3-2 after 2, 7-6 to start the fourth quarter after UMass Boston came from behind. They were down 6-4 at one point, but scored the final 3 goals. We're back to even strength as Clay Arnold comes across defensively to help out. Western, though, holds on to possession. This is the Little East Conference opener for both teams. UMass Boston picked 4th. Western picked in a tie for 6th with UMass Dartmouth. Pass for Ward. Ward being pressured by Dillon. Bounces it past Surratt, and we're even at 7. It was tied at 2, tied at 4, tied at 6, and now at 7. Here in Boston, Massachusetts, it's no longer snowing, just rainy, cold, windy, just miserable conditions overall, but yet they play on. Haven't seen many good conditions during this 4-game homestand. The Beacons 1-2, looking to end it on a high note. They've played in temperatures that dip to as low as 5 degrees with the wind chill. They've played in torrential rains, in high winds, just generally nasty conditions, but that is the sport of lacrosse for you, especially here in New England. Murphy working against Yersha, who lays out trying to pick it up. Instead, it ends up in the stick of Dillon, at least for a moment. Still fighting for it. Yersha gets bumped off the ball. Dillon, another turn. He's a one-man whirling dervish there, and the ball finally picked up by Caldwell. Caldwell trying to get around a slew of Beacons, loses it, trying to pick it right back up. Tons of body there. Not sure how anyone can see the ball. Caldwell able to maintain possession, has it stripped again, picked up this time by Ganem. Ganem's pass, able to find Ranta. Ranta leading the rush. Western Connecticut State needs to get back. Ranta across for Calvin Lee, and the Beacons will set up offensively. Lee, though, stripped of the ball. A nice defensive play from Kolosinski, but he loses it, and it's picked up by Holmes. We knew turnovers were going to be an issue in this game. I don't think we knew just how much of an issue it was going to be. At least it's been for both sides. Lee makes the pass, makes the catch in traffic, gives it over to Smith, who will wait patiently. We've seen the shot clock being turned on twice in this game, which is a season high for home games, one on both sides. It had happened just once in the Beacons' first 5 home games. Pass over the head of Matton bounces through, and the Beacons will be whistled for the infraction. Western a chance to take their second lead of the day. Caldwell will start with it, being pressured there by Christensen, and now Murphy will try to slow down the big 6'5", 235-pound freshman attackman. Rolling back near side for Swenson. Winner in this one might be the first to 9, even 10. Western came in averaging 13 goals. The Beacons at just about 8 1/4. But these conditions have been a very leveling factor for both sides. Control by Caldwell. Ball loose in front. Surratt picks it up as a Beacon hits the turf. Matt Murphy's in a ton of pain. Helmet's off. It looks like he might have gotten the wind knocked out of him. The very talented sophomore Beacons face-off man and one of their long stick defensemen out of Watertown, Massachusetts. He'll slowly make his way off. Not sure which of the Beacons' 3 trainers drew the Short Straw is working this contest in the rain, but they'll come over and talk to Matt at least shortly. Tortora ahead for Smith, evades pressure immediately from Yersha, and now is being given a bit of space inside the 30. 11:45 to play. The lone goal here in the fourth quarter coming from Western Connecticut State to tie this game up at 7-7. This has been really the best the Beacons have looked offensively the past couple of games, as they have a few of their top players back. Shot there from distance, hits the side of the cage from Christensen, and picked up by Tynan. Tynan's outlet pass for Murchison, and he'll go backwards with it for Kaiser. Kaiser ahead for Yersha. Yersha and Western Connecticut State will go near side for DeRosa. DeRosa able to get around one Beacon as Clay Arnold lost his footing. Across from Murchison, it goes off of his ankle, past Murphy. Tortora looking to corral it, ball still loose, and Murphy on the second effort able to get there. Immediately sandwiched, able to get it back for DP Trantonio, and Tortora avoids his own man, able to get it across midfield. Tortora, who has boundless amounts of energy, looking to get around the long stick of Kaiser, still working with it with the long stick right around his shoulder. Tries to give the handoff and successfully does so for Lee. Both of those players were honored last year on Senior Day, but back for another academic year. And that shot is knocked down. We're going to get a stoppage, and we'll see what the call is. Didn't see the flag, but it apparently was thrown down on the far side. 30-second infraction against Western Connecticut State. It's going to be the... Well, we're not quite sure who it's going to be. We'll see who takes a knee, and it looks like it'll be Yersha potentially, 45. But apparently he doesn't want to get his knees even wetter than they already are. Smith's shot goes well wide, and it took off the pocket there of a Western Connecticut State player's stick. The long pull, Cullen Roberts had his netting fly well behind the cage. It was actually easier to track the netting than the physical ball. And he'll have to replace his stick. He'll come off, be replaced by another long pull, and it'll be Beacon's ball on the far side. Sam Matton all the way in that far corner. 10:14 to go. The Beacons still have a few more seconds. Now kneeling, it's Robbie Swenson. So maybe Swenson was the guilty party. A shot Tynan into a split, and it'll end up behind the net. Not sure if Tynan got a piece of it. Got another stoppage. Referee's getting a little bit whistle happy here. No call, and the Beacons will keep possession. Lee fakes the pass back near side. Smith for Lee, far side. Great passing here. Matton in tight. Shot to score. Sam Matton's first collegiate 2-goal game. His first collegiate 3-point game. And the Beacons take the lead back at 8-7.
UMass Boston goal scored by
9:52 to play.
assisted by number 14.
And Josh Holmes, one of the other Beacons freshmen, picks up the assist. So Matton came in with 2 collegiate points, give him 3 on the day, 2 goals and an assist. And UMass Boston has the lead back at 8-7. UMass Boston has led 2-0, 4-2, 7-6, and 8-7. The Colonials had their lone 2-goal lead at 6-4 after trailing the entire first half. Yersha takes a huge hit from Dillon, but hangs on. What a nice play from the Delaware native, and finally loses it. As the ball gets knocked out of bounds off the Colonials, will stay with the Beacons. I don't know what Tyler Lowe said to his team after their 20-6 loss against Bowdoin, but this has been a different looking team for UMass Boston. Sure, getting some of their top players has helped, especially the likes of Lee and Smith offensively, but everybody, especially some of their leaders who have been out there for the past couple disappointing losses, has been a lot more physical. Arnold, a great turn, the shot in tight, and he beats Tynan to the near side. What a beautiful diving play to the net from behind the net by Clay Arnold. His second goal of the game, and the Beacons' lead is back to 2 at 9-7. UMass Boston 1 goal away from reaching double digits for the first time since early March. In early March, it was 45 degrees and sunny. What happened to that weather? More importantly, the Beacons now hold a 2-goal advantage, looking for their first win at home against Western since 2006, and their second in a row overall. The Colonials own an 11-4 all-time lead in the series after the Beacons won 3 of the first 4. But since then, it's been all Western, winning 10 in a row before last season. Yersha, a big face-off win. Western Connecticut State needed it after giving up back-to-back goals. In fact, since Western led 6-4, the Beacons have now scored 5 of the past 6 goals. Back and forth, the 2 long poles go. Kaiser and Kolosinski giving it back and forth, and now bringing it across midfield is Ruling. Both of these teams desperate for a victory for UMass Boston to get back to 500 and to earn a win in their Little East Conference opener, something they couldn't do a year ago when they hosted Keene State to open conference play. For Western, looking for their 4th win of the season after winning just 2 games in 15 tries a year ago in head coach Ryan Kavanaugh's first season. Bringing it across is Dylan Lee, looking for a 4th, skips it through the 5-hole, and he has 4 goals in back-to-back seasons against the Colonials. The Beacons' biggest lead of the day at 10-7, and with 8:01 to go, the Beacons' offense is starting to get rolling. Speaking of getting rolling, it looks like the Beacons baseball team, who's back in action tomorrow at noon, looks like they're going to be rolling just past the lacrosse field right now in numbers, getting ready for a 5 p.m. practice, which can't be fun whether it's indoors or outdoors. Big face-off here. Yersha won the last one, but the Beacons were able to get the goal. Yersha wins another one. Yersha, though, has it come loose and picks it right back up. Ryan, a big-time addition. A junior college transfer, looking for his first goal as a Colonial, and his shot is saved by Surratt. Alex hasn't made a lot of them, but that's a big-time save as the Beacons can start to kill a little bit of clock and look for another goal. Ranta slowly moving up this sideline. He'll give it back to Surratt, who makes the save. I say makes the save because if that hadn't got past him, it was going to be directly on target. Ganem ahead. Able to find Smith as the Beacons easily clear midfield and successfully pull off the clear attempt. Smith faking the shot, working on Murchison. UMass Boston, after giving up the opening goal of the quarter to tie it, has scored 3 in a row. They've scored 6 of the past 7 goals and have now reached double-digit goals for the first time since a victory over Daniel Webster on the 6th of March, in which they scored 15 goals in a 15-4 win. Since then, 7 goals at Nichols, 9 at MIT in losses, 3 goals in a win over Riviere, and then just 13 combined goals in losses to Johnson and Wales and Bowdoin. Shot clock has been turned off. Sam Matton can't make the catch. He'll have to run back just inside the 50. Under 6:30 to go. The Beacons need to move a little bit right now with the shot clock working against them. Matton from the far side will go behind the cage for Clay Arnold. Once again, can't make the catch. Pass in tight. Smith looking to turn, shot, and it's saved by Tynan. UMass Boston forced to get a quick look there and not able to get a good one. Bonaparte trying to get it across midfield. Wins the foot race against Holmes. Taekwon out of Stamford, Connecticut. Honorable mention all-conference player a year ago, and he feeds a on-racing Robbie Swenson a goal in tight to cut the deficit back to 10-8. Still plenty of time left with 5:55 left in regulation. For Swenson, that's his second of the day.
Western Connecticut goal scored by number 23, Robbie Swenson, unassisted.
Picking up the assist on that one, Ryan Ruling.
35, 22 from 35. Okay, just announce the correction.
action, number 22, Ryan Ruling scored, assisted by number 35, John Forstall.
Beacons win the face-off. Murphy, a big one, able to find Lee, tiptoeing the sideline. Calvin in no rush to get a shot off unless he gets a really good look on target. Calvin working one-on-one on the far side with Kolosinski, the top defender for Western Connecticut State and the top returning offensive player for the Beacons. Although playing just his first game, not sure what we were going to see. He's got 4 goals and assists. Clearly the rust coming off easily for the very talented senior from Hopkinton, Massachusetts. Still 5 minutes and 14 seconds. The Beacons' lead is just 2. Matton from behind the cage. Far side for Caraveau. Caraveau, the easy pass back and forth with Smith. Caraveau now to the far side for Matton. Here comes the shot clock for the 3rd time today. The referee's not playing around. Lee holding it away from his body, looking to get a turn. Trying to go back down low for Caraveau, and that shot's knocked out. The shot clock should at least reset here as the Beacons got to look off.
No, you don't reset it. It did not signal to reset.
Clay Arnold. Over for Connor Smith. Smith across, able to find Caraveau, winds up, and his shot goes wide.
Shot clock is off.
Shot clock has been turned off as the Beacons get a close enough look there. Pass back to the near side.
Right where it's at. Leave it right where it's at.
It's Smith. Over for Matton. 4:22 to go. The Beacons doing a good job killing some clock and getting some good looks offensively. Lead is 2 with 4:15 to play. UMass Boston trying to hold off a Western Connecticut State rally and earn their 4th win of the season. Smith's shot flung well wide, and the Beacons closest to it as Lee and Sam Matton both racing over to the far side. Smith, a lefty by trade, but looked to go with the right hand there, and his shot was nowhere close. Calvin Lee looking to get around Kolosinski there. Lee turned towards the net. That's not what you want to do. And Tynan able to make the save. Kolosinski picking up the ground ball. Not quite sure if that was the correct defensive strategy, but it works out this time as the goalie gets knocked down by a Beacon behind the net. Holmes taking some liberties, and it's controlled by Kolosinski. 3:30 to go. Western doesn't need to rush here, but they do need to get a good shot off. Bonaparte around a Beacon, working against the long stick of Murphy. Taekwon will slow it down, look for help, and he'll head back towards the bench. It's Robbie Swenson with it. Swenson against the long pole of Ranta. Back out top, finds Ruling, and now to John Ward. Ward for Ruling, around a semi-pick as Tortora had to give him space. Ward against the long stick of Murphy. Look for Forrestal and Caldwell to be the best 2 options here. Behind the net, it's controlled by Swenson. Swenson over for Caldwell. Already has a hat trick working against the long pole of DP Trantonio. The freshman drawing the very difficult assignment. Ward, a nice ball fake. Ward trying to find a player in tight. Couldn't make the catch. That was Sparacino unable to handle it, but Western able to find it on the near side. Down to 2:30 to go. Western doesn't need to hurry quite yet, but they do need to get a shot off because they need 2 goals, not just the 1. 2:22 left. Shot sails wide. Clock stops with 2:19 to play. UMass Boston leading 10-8, trying to hold on. Their lead was 10-7. Western scoring about 2 minutes ago. From behind the net, it's Swenson getting around Ranta. Up top for Ward. Far side, Ruling. Ruling working against Dillon. Ruling dips inside his shot, and that one bounces wide once again. Clock stops at 2:06. It's going to be an exhilarating final minute and 120 seconds here as the clock dips under 2 minutes. Ward up top for Sparacino. Sparacino trying to cut inside Dillon, who says no. Jack Dillon is not giving Sparacino a lane to the goal. Near side with it, it's Ruling, trying to turn around the smaller Tortora, and the senior, once again, not giving any space. Far side, big shot from Caldwell, saved by Surrett. Loose ball, Dillon fighting in there amongst a couple of Western players. Caldwell to his back. Ball still loose. This is a huge play. And finally, we're going to get a whistle, and we'll see who it's against. It's going to be against Western, so the Beacons will get the ball back with 1:24, and all they need to do is kill some clock. Surratt will start with it, giving it over to the far side. That's the long pole, Ganem. Ganem back to Surratt. Western needs to pressure the ball right now. Over to Ranta. Finally numbers into the Beacons defensive end. Ranta around one player across midfield with 1:05. Ranta ahead for Lee, who's just going to slow it down. And with 1:01 to go, UMass Boston calls timeout. Up by 2 goals, the Beacons will strategize just how they're going to kill the final 61 seconds. UMass Boston 61 seconds away from snapping a 2-game losing streak and from opening conference play 1-0. "61 seconds remaining as the snow has pretty much all been cleared from the field as the guys have pushed it and pulled it and done anything they could to get their footing. Wouldn't even really know that it had snowed if not for a little bit of the residue around the field, as it's mostly just been raining since about 20 minutes before game time. The Beacons will start with it. Josh Holmes is going to be immediately met by a pair of defenders here on the near side. Western desperately needs a turnover, and every single player is being man-marked. Holmes will look to run along the end line. Holmes gets through a pair of players. He shot, and he scores. Tiny not back in time, and that's the problem. When you're so focused on getting the turnover, the goalie has to step out, and Josh Holmes picks up a big goal. UMass Boston leads 11-8, so now even if Western can win a couple of faceoffs and get some quick goals, they need not 2 goals, but 3 goals to tie, and the Beacons in a much better spot there as Western had to gamble, just like pulling your goalie in hockey. They didn't pull the goalie, but they put the goalie on one of the Beacons' offensive players away from the ball, and it ultimately cost him as Holmes was able to beat the long stick pull of Kaiser and had a wide open lane to net. Yersha trying to win the faceoff back. Instead, Dillon has it, and Dillon is just going to control. No reason to rush here. Got a stoppage and another Beacons timeout. 47 seconds left, and Anthony Fitty immediately beckoning to his offense to huddle up around him. These final 61 seconds cannot go fast enough. Coaches are certainly trying to make every tactical adjustment, but for anybody else out here, it's not very fun as the elements making this opening weekend of April, well, feel a little bit more like November or December. Once again, the strategy for Western now down 3 instead of 2. You have to pressure the ball. It'll start in their defensive end. See if it'll be Holmes again who scored the last one. And it will be. Holmes is going to be met by a different long pole, though. Kolasinski, the team's top long pole, is joined by the short stick of Cullen. 2 long poles. Roberts and Kolasinski. Last time, Holmes was able to beat the 2 and force the turnover, as this time, Tynan is coming further out. Holmes able to gain some space, and now Tynan's going to have to retreat to his goals. Josh Holmes looks like he's a former track star as he's just running around. Got a penalty coming against Western, so even if they touch the ball, it'll go back to the Beacons. 25 seconds left in what has to be a very gratifying victory if you're a UMass Boston player after how the last couple of games have gone. Western gets the turnover, but here comes the initial flag against the Colonials, and it'll lead to a UMass Boston final man-up opportunity with 15.7 seconds left. John Forrestal is called for offsides, and the Beacons will look to just kill it off as Smith throws it across for Lee. Will the Beacons look for a late look? Calvin Lee just content to kill some clock. 5 seconds left. Make it 4, 3, and it's very fitting that the man who couldn't play for the first month of the season, the hero today, ends the game with the ball. 4 goals and an assist for the second straight season against Western, and UMass Boston earns a huge 11-8 victory. Sorry, folks, just lost power for a moment. Just going to finish up here. Calvin Lee playing his first game of the season, 4 goals and an assist. UMass Boston, the big winner. We'll get you the stats really quickly before we close out here on the Beacons Broadcast Network as they defeat Western Connecticut State by an 11-8 score. The first time they reached double digits in goals since March 6th, and the first time they've won here against the Colonials since 2006, as the Beacons open conference play 1-0 with the huge win in which they went down 6-4 early on in the third quarter, but they finished the game on a 7-2 run and a big win over a Colonials team that was picked just behind them in the conference preseason poll. We'll bring you the final statistics and a look ahead. Give a shout out to our production crew working through the conditions here in a press box, but an unheated press box at that, with some of the wind gusting through. As UMass Boston, an 11-8 winner, the lone game in conference play today, at least on the men's side. There were 2 women's lacrosse games that were scheduled for later on in the day at Eastern and Western Connecticut State. We'll get you the final statistics momentarily in a game that was absolutely plagued by turnovers and by many runs. Neither team could get a ton of goals in a row, but we saw Western score 4 in a row to take their lone lead at 6-4, and the Beacons immediately answering back. Here's the final statistics. UMass Boston out shooting Western 37-27, 12 saves from Patrick Tynan, 8 for Alex Surrett, 6 of them coming in the second half. Faceoffs were even at 11-11, which is huge for UMass Boston playing against a team that had done very well in the faceoff X, especially Wednesday, where they won almost every one. Turnovers 27 for Western, 24 for UMass Boston. So the two teams combined for 51 turnovers in 60 minutes of action. Neither side able to score on the man up. Right now we'll give a shout out to our production crew. My name is Seth Dorensky, your director Rachel Maslak, and we had not one but 2 camera operators, Eileen Shee and Sarah Allen Nardo. Finally, a look ahead for UMass Boston. This is the end of their 4-game homestand. They finish at 2-2. They're at Wheaton on Tuesday. Then they continue conference play, looking for their first ever win over Eastern Connecticut State. That'll be a Sunday matchup at 1. And then at Keene State on Saturday, April 15th at 3:30 p.m. So 3 straight road games for UMass Boston before they return home in the middle of April. Hopefully to better weather, as the Beacons will host UMass Dartmouth and Plymouth State on the 19th and 22nd of April, with 3 of their final 4 coming back here in Boston. Thanks so much, folks, for watching. Your winner, UMass Boston 11, Western Connecticut State 8, here on the Beacons Broadcast Network.